Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks for joining me today. I am excited to be participating in a hop today, and this hop is called Card Hopping. It's actually a Facebook group, and we have hops planned for the entire year. And every month we will be bringing you a theme and a technique. There's actually two techniques, and we each pick which technique we're going to use. So January is some of the participants will be doing ink smushing, and some of the participants will be doing ink blending. I'm going to be doing ink blending for my video today, and there is a list of the entire hop order listed below. As we get through the video, I'll explain a little bit more about the hop and if you would like to join in. And the theme for January's hop is love, Valentines, galentines. It could be divorced. It could be anything, hearts. So anything related to that. And so my card, I think I'm going to use it. My anniversary is coming up, and then there's Valentine's Day as well. So I'm going to use it for one of those. And I wanted to do something. I feel like I've done a lot of pink and a lot of hearts and stuff like that. So I wanted to do something a little bit more grungy. And so since my technique is ink blending, I'm going to go ahead and show you the panel that I created ink blending first. And for me, I think ink blending depends, or good ink blending depends on the paper you're using and the tool that you're using, and also the inks to an extent. I don't have re-inkers, and so I think some of mine are probably on the little drier side than they should be. I believe this is a piece of the Accent Opaque paper, and that is what I'm using for the ink blending. The tools that I'm using are the topper on the tool is the Tim Holtz. The base of the tool is the scrapbook.com. I did switch over to the scrapbook.com foam blenders, and I just found that I kind of preferred the Tim Holtz. So I am using those for this, and I am using some distress inks. And the colors that I'm using are Candied Apple, Ripe Persimmon, Mustard Seed, and Gathered Twig. And when I'm ink blending, I like to start off of the page a little bit to get that motion going before I actually hit the paper, so that I'm not leaving a harsh ink mark. I also, when I'm doing my layers, like to blend over the previous layer. I think that's probably what most of us do when we're ink blending. I have struggled with ink blending in the past, and so when I came in, I did this. I wasn't sure if it was going to turn out, but I was pleasantly surprised. It turned out, I think it turned out nice. I add a lot of layers to it, and so it does change the look of it a little bit. So once I've gotten kind of a rough draft of my ink blending panel down, I'm taking the stencil and I am spritzing it with a little bit of water, and then I'm going to place the water side against the cardstock so it will pick up the ink. Just like if you were to spritz it with water, the stencil is going to pick up the ink and leave kind of a faint image of the stencil in the background. And then I will take a little bit of that leftover ink on my platform, or my plastic sheet of paper, and do a little bit of ink splattering, just because I like ink splattering most of my cards. And then I'm going to spritz that stencil again, and then just push it down with my hand to get a little bit of a different pattern in that panel. And then I'll take my heat tool and dry that off. And then I will take the same inks again, so I'm using the same colors. I did add at the beginning a little bit of that aged mahogany, just to mix with the brown a little bit, but I don't end up going back over with that color. And so after I have my panel dry, I'm going to go back in with my inks again. And so I'm just taking those same colors and I'm layering those right on top. It does bring out the stencil a little bit more once I do that, and then I'm just blending all of those inks together again. And this color combination I actually got from Tim Holtz has a video, and I think I saw it on Pinterest, like a picture, and so I grabbed those colors because I think they blend really beautiful together and they look really beautiful, and so those are the ones that I grabbed. And so after I do that, I grab the aged mahogany and a brushed corduroy. I put those down on my plastic sheet and spritz that with water so that I could put some ink drops on my panel, and then I dry that, and then I go in with my inks a third time, and it just deepens the color of the panel so that you don't see any splotchiness and you don't see any of that paper in the background. So this is the third layer of ink that I have put down, and I really think it brings out that stencil a lot more once I've gone over multiple layers. And so I go ahead and set that panel aside, and for my main image I am going to use this cute little paper Artsy stamp. I don't remember, I couldn't find the name of this. If I can find it, I go ahead and throw that in the description, but I'm going to use this cute little dog with the crown and the heart on him, and I'm going to do a little bit of watercoloring. So I'm using some pan watercolors from Prima, and the set is called Tropicals, and I am doing some messy watercoloring. I mean, it's messy to me. I'm not going outside the lines necessarily, but I am not smoothing out the lines, which is what I usually do when I watercolor with markers. But I want that more of that watercolor look where there are different edges, and so that is what I've done. And I'm just going to color this little guy up. And while I'm doing that, I wanted to let you know a little bit more about the hop. Again, it is a theme, a different theme every month, along with 2 techniques, and everybody picks out which technique that they would like to do. And so it's year long. You sign up by the month, so there's no commitment for the entire year. You just sign up for the month that you're interested in participating in. And everyone is welcome to participate. You just have to have either post on Instagram or post on a blog or post on YouTube. And I'll go ahead and leave the link below if you're interested in joining the group. We would love to have you. I'll go ahead and leave a link below to the group if you're interested in joining. It is just a fun, no stress way to participate in something and maybe learn a new technique or do a technique that you haven't done in a while. And I'm really looking forward to having a super fun year with the hop. And so for the sentiment for this card, I'm using a fairly old Technique Tuesday stamp set. Is called Label Maker. I really love the sentiment. It just says, "I so totally love you." And I'm using that same Versafine Sepia to stamp that up, and I will cut that out. And then I'm using this kind of bubble stamp from Lavinia, and this is stamped up again in that same Versafine, and I'm just trying to put it between the dark brown and a little bit of the orangey yellow. So I put that halfway across, and then I went ahead and took the stamp out and just hand stamped the rest. And I didn't want it to be super dark, which is why you see me stamping off on a piece of paper, doing some second generation stamping just so that I can get that lighter color. And it's really subtle. I don't even know if you could see it in the pictures, but it's just, I just wanted something to ground my little guy there when I put him on the card. And then I'm going to distress the edges a little bit, so I'm taking my Tim Holtz Distress Edger. I didn't mean to rip that as much as I did, but I went ahead and went with it. And once I'm done with that, I am taking some brush corduroy and my blending brush and just going around the edges to make those not white. And then I'm using my cutter bee scissors to go ahead and fussy cut this out. I wanted the trim around the outside of the image to be very small, which is why I'm fussy cutting and not using my scan and cut. And so I didn't want there to be a lot of a white border around the edges, and so I went ahead and cut that out. And then I'm taking the brush corduroy and a finger dauber, and I'm going over the edges of that so that there is no white showing. And for the card panel, I took a piece of brown paper and I'm taking some vintage photo and just going around the edge that's going to be showing once I put that panel, the ink blended panel on top of it. So I wanted it to be a really rich dark brown, and so I really love kind of how vintagey that looks. And then I will take my panel and use some adhesive. Now when I put this adhesive on, it did not want to stick to my distress ink, so I put this on my panel and then I went back and I had to use a little bit of liquid glue around the edges to get it to fully adhere. And then I'm going to take a white card base and I'm adhering my entire panel to that. And then for the dog, I popped that up with my favorite foam, which is the super thin foam you get in stacks from Walmart. And I'll adhere that with some liquid glue. And then for the sentiment, I do pop that up with a sentiment strip from scrapbook.com. It's just, I love their sentiment strip, or their foam strips, because they are about 1/8 of an inch and they are perfect for sentiments, for shakers and things like that. So I add that sentiment, and then I added, oh, I also did do some white ink splatter on the dog, and then I added some clear enamel dots, and that will finish off this card. I hope you enjoyed. Check out all of the participants on the Hop. I'm super excited to see what everybody has created. Again, all the information will be below if you're interested in participating. And as always, if you'd like this video or found it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and I hope to see you next time.